Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KC CHIROpulse podcast, brought to you by CATS Consultants, helping doctors keep their pulse on success. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich, and I'm joined today by Dr. Troy Fox. Hello, Dr. Fox.
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic. We've missed you here for a little bit, and glad to have you back in the studio again.
I've been on a short hiatus, and I'm back. I'm in my scrubs today because I was with patients right before we did this. So
awesome.
You caught me at my best today.
Okay, perfect. You're really thinking chiropractically then. If you're in your scrubs,
right.
Maybe I should go put mine on.
Yeah.
How funny. Well, you are always the keeper of the questions and the emails. What do we got this week?
Yeah. So one of the latest and greatest that we've gotten, and with me being gone for a little while, I've noticed you guys aren't showing me the love. I haven't gotten as many emails since I've been gone for a little while. So being back, I'm glad
you're going to get flooded.
Yeah, I probably will. But I got one that I thought was a really good question, because we get asked this question all the time. When is the right time for coaching? Or where do I need to be in my practice? Or how bad does it need to be? So Mike from Texas, different Mike than you, right? Since you're not in Texas, you're in Florida, wrote in and said, I've been in practice for about 3 years. I've had some success in my practice, but recently I've seen some stagnation. And I'm trying to determine if it's the right time for coaching, or am I doing something wrong, or have I just reached capacity in my practice? Now, we don't have Mike's numbers, so I probably couldn't tell you with any accuracy whether he's reached that point of max saturation in his practice. Most people that contact us haven't. Most of you, from a standpoint of saturation, are not even close.
Not even close.
And you're working your tails off, and sometimes you just need to employ maybe some extra help, maybe a change in flow in your office, which we've talked about in previous segments. But that's a really good question. When is it time to employ coaching? And I will tell you that, frankly, a lot of times I see people wait until it's too late, and they're scared. Yeah. They're either scared, A, financially, because they've gotten themselves in a bind, or B, they're scared because their practice is in a certain way and they're afraid we're going to tell them something that's going to make them have to radically or drastically change their practice. So there's a lot of fear involved sometimes with asking for help.
Or just the fear of hearing that you were doing something wrong sometimes prevents people. So you mentioned one very important key factor in there, and that's we don't have Mike's stats to be able to really dig into the numbers. And that's the only way you can tell for sure. So I would urge Mike to either get in touch with us and let us look at your stats, or take a deep dive on those statistics, because they'll tell you a lot. But I'm gonna flip the question around just a little bit. I like to do this kind of stuff.
Sure.
Let's bring it back to chiropractic care for just a minute. When your patient comes in with low back pain, and it just started today, was that the day they needed chiropractic care?
Right. No,
they probably needed it weeks, months, years ago, and just put it off, avoided the little bitty signs along the way until what happens? Bam. We all see this in our practices. They wait until it's just unbearable, 8.5 out of 10 pain and causing major dysfunction. And I think we tend to see the same thing with coaching. We tend to wait until there's more than one fire. We tend to wait until there's a out of control bonfire or forest fire, even sometimes, before we employ coaching, because I think until there's too many fires for that one doctor to really manage, they're willing to allow a few little campfires to smolder. And that's really where the problem starts.
Right.
Because it only takes one campfire to start smoldering, and you get a little gust of wind, picks up a spark, and boom, the whole place is going up like a Roman candle. And, while that's obviously a good visual analogy, it's true. And if you're not paying attention and your numbers start to get away from you, and you don't have somebody looking down from 35,000 feet, and you're just walking through the forest, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it until you're surrounded by fire. And that's why you have a coach. I don't think any of us probably ever heard Michael Jordan say, I don't think I need coaching this year. I'm just going to go out and play.
Well, let me add something to this as well. I think a lot of times what we see with people that call us as well is sometimes the bonfires or the small fires or the smoldering embers were something that could have been addressed easily.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been done in a stepwise process that didn't overwhelm the doctor.
Right.
I think what happens in a lot of cases is we get to that point where we know our practice is out of control. We know we've got a major problem. And at that point, we're crying out for help, but we're already exhausted because we've been fighting the fire in our own way, or we've been avoiding it. We've been running circles around the fire until we wore ourselves out. And then we do, and this is just the truth. We tend to start blaming it on others within our practice. It's not our fault. It's someone else's fault. It's the paperwork's fault. It's the insurance company's fault. That's why I can't be successful. Yeah. And so what happens is we get docs that are exhausted and they're overwhelmed when they come to us. So my problem with that is that if you would have reached out to us earlier, and we had smoldering embers, we could have addressed several situations one at a time very easily. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, what happens is you've got a full-blown house fire by the time you get to us, and you want the answer right now, before the house burns down. Right. And even the fire department sometimes can't get there fast enough to put a house fire out and save the house. So my concern is that we get to you early.
Yeah, get to you early, and you don't have to wait until the first match is struck either. Mm-hmm. I hear a lot of docs say, "Oh, I have a great practice. I don't need coaching." Mm-hmm. How do you know? I can tell you vehemently myself, and I had a great practice. You had a great practice. We had these great big practices, very successful practices, and yet every time, and I always had a coach. Every time I got on my coach call, I learned something. And it was just sometimes those little bitty tweaks here and there that just kept me going from a really, really good practice to a really, really great practice and beyond. So it's not, oh my gosh, I've got fires, I need help putting them out. Everybody needs coaching. Sometimes it's just that little bit of a tweak. You take professional baseball players, for example. If they get into a batting slump, it's not because they just suddenly became bad players. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just need a little tweak. Maybe they just need to throw that left wrist out just a little bit, cock it just a little bit so they get the bat at a different angle. And it's that 1 millimeter difference or 1 inch difference in the level of how the bat swings that you finally start hitting the ball again. Yeah. It's oftentimes, and I think that's where consulting really shines best. Yeah, we can help you. It's kind of like chiropractic again. Yes, we can help you get out of pain. We can help put out the fires. But where coaching really shines is those little tweaks along the way to make you better and better and better and better. Because it's a constant pursuit. Success is a constant pursuit towards excellence, which can never be achieved. But if you ever stop running that path, then you begin to go backwards.
And I think that all starts, if we're honest with ourselves, where you're going to start with this as a doctor. So you have to have the right mindset coming in, because I don't know if you guys have ever watched the show Bar Rescue before with that John Taffer guy.
Yeah.
And people have him come in and he starts telling them what they need to do. And what do? They immediately put up a wall. They become defensive. Right. And in most cases, he's right. I mean, they've either used all the resources the company had to do something else, or they just have a bad product or service. And it's just one of those things where he looks at it and goes, this isn't working, and here's why. What you have to do, because some of us go, well, gee, I don't know, I'm afraid of what they're going to find when they start digging through what I'm doing in my practice. Or I do things a certain way and I've done it that way for 20 years, but yet I'm struggling right now in practice. And so we see that almost that same scenario. So I would say the first thing that needs to happen for somebody that wants to start getting some advisement in their practice, if you want to get better, you have to be willing to listen and you have to be willing to take constructive criticism. We're not here to tear you down.
No.
We are here to tell you, here's what's going on in your practice and here's what you need to look at and you need to entertain the thought of making changes to. And a lot of this starts right back where we talked at the beginning of the conversation with statistics. We have a really good system of looking at your practice from a statistical standpoint. And it's kind of like the emperor has no clothes kind of thing. It kind of strips you naked when you look at, because you can't really hide behind statistics. Those statistics are going to point out exactly where you're at in your practice. We can pick, pinch points in your practice or where you're having problems, and we can talk about it then at that point. So that's why I say you've got to be willing to listen to what we're going to tell you, because we're going to do it with pretty good pinpoint accuracy. It's not going to be one of those things, well, I don't know, maybe if you put 2 more chairs in your waiting room, that would, or maybe you should, throw some more advertising dollars at this. That's really not how we approach it. We look at it from an internal, and Dr. Perusich and I have both always been in our practice people that felt like that if our practices worked good internally, it would organically grow. And I don't know that we used that terminology 15 years ago, because I don't think that we talked about organic growth, but I think that resonates with people right now. Do you really want to have to grind and throw a bunch of dollars at growth in your practice, or having a great practice that's bountiful with your patients? Maybe not losing as many out the back door as you have coming in the front door,
Right.
Being able to provide lifetime care to patients. Well, then that's what you need to do. You need to have a situation where you understand where the pinch points are in your practice, or where you're failing in your practice. Let's be honest, where you're failing, and then move forward from there. So I think that that's really the gist of where being open to coaching starts at.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a really good point there. You have to be in business, to be a business owner, you really have to have a mindset of, I'm open to anybody's suggestion. Doesn't mean you have to implement it, but there's always somebody who has a different way to look at things, a different vision, a different set of experience, comes from a different background, has a different set of skills, that can look at your business and a lot of times provide really good, strong, usable, constructive criticism. And that's one of the things that we do at CATS is we really get in and get to know the doctor, the staff, your practice, what your vision is, what kind of practice you want. And we help you create a model around that. So it's practice you love. It's not what Troy and I did in practice. It's about taking what your vision is of your practice. But
and it's not cookie. Go ahead.
Well,
it's not cookie cutter.
It's not cookie cutter. And it's like any major corporation, you've got a CEO, but it's not really the CEO by themselves that's running the place. They're not coming up with all the ideas. They've got all these people under them who bring great ideas, strategies, and tactics to the table. But then they've also got above them, they've got a board of directors that they have to answer to as well. And the board of directors can come in and say, you know what, let's put the brakes on that for just a minute. Over here in my business, where we were really successful, we tried something similar and it didn't work. So let's go back to the drawing board. That's coaching. That's bringing real leadership vision into your business and helping you operate it as a real business, not just a truck on fire that,
Right.
Today it's just smoldering, but tomorrow it's ablaze again.
So let me ask you this, because I think this leads into the next question, which I think is it's almost like chiropractic care. Can you help me? How long is it going to take? And how much does it cost? I think a lot of people, and we definitely want to address this. I think a lot of people aren't so much concerned how long it's going to take. They'd like to see some instant success. And I think in most cases, we can create a situation where your practice will trend in the right direction in a very short period of time. So the big question is, and we've seen some of this in consulting and in advisement, sometimes the sticker shock just blows you out of the water and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'd love to be a better practice, but the sticker shock just killed me. So what's it cost? I mean, do I have some sort of lifetime commitment, or am I going to pay thousands and thousands of dollars a month for the next 5 to 10 years to get help from CATS Consulting? How does this actually work?
No, it's actually incredibly affordable. And we don't believe in long-term contracts and those kind of things. Um, if we do our job and you're doing well, then you're going to stick with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
bottom line, and I always tell everybody this. And if you want to know more specifics, because we have different membership levels,
Mm-hmm.
give us a call. That's the simplest way is for us to plug in with you and help figure out which one of our programs works best for you. But it's like this. If I asked you to give me, I don't know, pick a number, $600, and I said, you know what, Troy, for that $600, I'm going to give you back 6,000 in 30 days. And I'm going to do that every 30 days, as long as you give me that 600 every month.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good deal? Is that a good return on your investment?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's 100% return.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got to look at consulting as that. And I don't think I've ever seen a practice where we couldn't figure out how to add revenue to the bottom line in the first
Mm-hmm.
month.
Yeah.
Because you don't have, when you're in practice, you don't have that 30,000 foot view of what's going on.
Right.
Nor have you've also not worked with thousands of other practices and know where to dig for it. So we do. That's the great thing. But you have to think of coaching as an investment. And, if you get into it and the investment's not paying off, what do? You sell the investment. Think of Wall Street. You sell the investment. Did you really have a loss? No, you probably learned a lot, especially with coaching. You're always going to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
But look at it. It's not an expense. It's an investment. Because if it's going to grow your practices in ways you never thought of or didn't know how to implement or didn't understand a good procedure to overcome, for example, bad insurance reimbursement, then it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win-win every time. So you have to go into it thinking of it as an investment. It's not on the expense side of the ledger.
And I'm going to throw something else in here too. Unlike some groups that you may work with from a coaching standpoint that work with just the doctors or just the business side of what's going on, and then the doctor has to really kind of be the lead on everything. We have coaching and advisement for staff as well.
Yep.
And it's a gold mine from that standpoint. That's one thing that I look at when your staff is well trained and you don't have to, and I'm kind of that guy to where I'm a little bit selfish. I'll be honest about it. I like to go in and I like to see patients. I like to make patients happy. And I like to make a little bit of money doing it.
That's what you should
But I'm not real big. I'm not a guy that wants to sit around and train. Now, I have learned over the years that your staff cares about you. Your staff wants to spend time with you. Do team building exercises with them. Do fun stuff with your staff.
Yeah.
Let us help you. Let us help you train them.
Yeah, we take a lot of that off your shoulders. So that you can go in, you can see more patients, you can stay focused during the day, knowing full well that your staff behind you has got your back and they know their processes, their procedures, they know how to manage patients, and they know how to put you in the best light and in the best financial position.
Yeah, and they're trained based off of the same principles that we're working with you on. And they're trained consistently. So all staff are trained in the same way, which I think that's just a fantastic advantage that you have when you are training everyone, not just having a phone call with the doctor and he goes back to staff and says, hey, guess what? We're going to change 18 things this week. And the staff revolt against you. Right. They don't understand why. So I think that's a huge benefit to have staff training at the same time.
Absolutely. So back to Mike's question. When is it time to start consulting?
Yesterday.
Probably the day before yesterday, before you ever thought about it, most likely.
Yeah.
But seriously, kidding aside, it's never too early to start. It's never the wrong time to start. Do we have to sometimes roll up our sleeves a little bit further and dive in and clean up maybe some problems if you wait too long? Yeah, sometimes, but so what? That's what we do. it's not a different charge just because there's a lot to do. The
Right.
end result is what we're focused on, and that's helping you build your practice to a bigger and greater point of success and making your practice what you want so that it's fun and you don't get burned out on it. That's the best part.
And we're not surprised when you say the sky is falling, because guess what? The sky does fall sometimes. That's just life. I know we all want to be positive and we all want to say, if you set goals and you do this and you do that, nothing will ever go bad in your life or your practice. Things still go bad, and you still have days where you're like, man, why can't I be like everyone else around me that seems like they're on easy street? Not everybody is. That's just the Facebook persona, right?
Right.
But everybody has days where the sky is falling and you need a little bit of help. And, there have been times if we're honest with each other that, we have all confided in someone when we're having a bad day or a bad time, trying to glean maybe a little bit of information to help make a decision. And I've been through that several times in my life where I'm like, man, this just isn't working out like I thought it was going to. I need some advisement. I need some help with this. And I'll always turn to my coaches, because you know what? They know me. They know where I've been. They also know my personality well enough to know kind of what I'm trying to achieve. So if you come to us and the sky is falling, you know what we're going to do? Get to know you. We want to know who you are, what you want to try to achieve, so we can help you. And that may seem backwards because you think you'd throw water on the fire first, but I want to get to know you, and then we can figure out how we need to attack the sky is falling fire, whatever you want to call it.
Yep, exactly. So, wow, Mike, thank you. That was a simple question, but turned into an entire truck to unload. So it was great. Yeah. So please, everybody, send in your questions, your thoughts. What do you want to hear us kick around sometime on a podcast? We won't use your name or your last name or your specific location. We won't embarrass you unless you want us to.
Sure.
But be sure to send those in. And Troy, they send them to you at Troy@katzconsultants.com.
Yep.
So email them over to Troy. He's the keeper of all those. And I can't think of anything else to add, really.
Nope. If you want to reach out to us, if you're like, you know what, I think I need to talk to somebody, you can call, and Dr. Perusich right now does the majority of those calls. So you're going to directly talk to Dr. Perusich. He's going to sit down and talk with you and say, what's going on? Let's take a look. And here's the options. Here's options so far as membership. You don't need very much. Here would be helpful for you to just kind of give your practice a little boost, or you've got a full-blown forest fire going right now. Like you said, let's roll up our sleeves. Here's how I'm going to approach it. And that's kind of what you get out of that learning call that we get from you, because we want to know what's going on with you before we make a decision. This isn't just, oh, hey, what's your first name, last name? Where do you practice at? Okay, you need the platinum bundle. We don't even have a platinum bundle. I'm just making that up. But you know what I mean? It's like, let's find out who you are and find out what you need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you want to do a breakthrough call with me, jump on katzconsultants.com. Top right corner, you can schedule right on my calendar, schedule a consult, and let's talk about it. We do those for free. So feel free to jump on there anytime, and let's chat about your practice and see, do you have a forest fire going, or are we just needing to tweak a few things so that you can have more success? Pretty simple. All right. Well, Troy, thanks for being here today. It's always good to banter something around with you. So from all of us here at Katz Consultants, thank you for tuning into the KC CHIROpulse podcast, brought to you by Katz Consultants, helping doctors keep their pulse on success. So from all of us here at Katz Consultants, we'll see you soon.
See ya.